Hey guys, it doesn't matter,
Ellen the Dream.
and this is episode 41 of our podcast, Confessions of a Stan Mixer Edition. And today we are going to be doing our review/discussion of The Search Season 1, Episode 5, which is the birth of melodies.
Woo!
I'm like way too excited about it because I actually really like them, and all of you guys are probably like, melodies. I don't care. I'm for it.
Wait, do people not like them?
No, people don't like them. They're the ones to hate on. They're the favorites to hate on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, people really hate them, specifically Twitter.
Oh, like they're not my favorite out of all of them, but they're not like my least favorite. Like,
Oh no, they're the ones to hate.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
surprised I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
but I like them. So if you're listening to this podcast, be prepared to deal with it, especially as we review the future episodes. Let's see. All right, we start off with the episode. We have a playful OT4 moment. Gotta love those, throwing things at each other.
So random. It start off like that.
I'm telling you, they're like whoever directed them was very good at their job.
Yeah.
They're like, here, give them candy, tell them to play. We're like, record them.
Yeah. And then it ends up actually like being really funny.
Let's see. All right, moving on to Liv. She was the first one up. I love Liv. Obviously, she makes it into the final band. I'm going to be doing so many spoilers. So if you haven't fully watched this episode, you really should.
Yeah, she was really like her family was so sweet. Like
Her family
she
was
was
so
just so sweet.
I love that like her dad started to threaten her. She was like, "Don't threaten them."
Yes, don't threaten them.
She didn't like let it happen. She was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, I love that. That was so good.
I thought her answer that was so cute that she was like excited about like coordinated outfits.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, like it was different from all the other answers that we've heard about like why they want to be in a group.
Yeah, I felt like she had a good reason for wanting to be in a group, like the sisterhood reason, and I feel like it felt like a genuine answer.
Yeah.
And then I was really impressed with her. I didn't expect she was really good vocally, but what I didn't expect, because she stood still for so long, like she was super sassy, but because she kind of stood still for so long, I wasn't really expecting her to be so comfortable, like moving her body around, if that makes sense. So then when she did that like dip with like the body roll, and she had a nice curvature to her back, and she just like looked really comfortable, like having control over her body. I was really like impressed for that because I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't have been impressed. I just was surprised.
Yeah, because you weren't like expecting it.
Because I thought like, oh, she's just gonna kind of stand most of it, whatever, that's fine. And not that she did like a huge dance break or anything. But to me, like that was enough. What she did was enough to tell me like she's comfortable moving her body around. She won't be super stiff in like dance rehearsals and lessons. And so like she has a good starting potential is what that told me personally, which is really all they're looking for. But I loved the tone of her voice.
Yeah, I love her voice.
I did agree with Jesse though that like upper belts didn't really sound like the best.
Yeah, like she was very comfortable in her lower.
Her low and mid range sounded beautiful to me.
Yeah.
I have like a little side note that applies for like all the previous episodes and the rest of this episode, but I love how the girls always hype up the person before telling them to start when they're ready. They're like, all right, this is your moment, own it. Or like, whenever you're ready, like take this, like, or like, we believe in you, you're going to be amazing. Like when you're ready.
Yeah.
Like that's always so nice.
Stressful.
Yeah. And the fact that they're always like, in your due time, start. Like, I just think that it's so nice and so sweet and so positive and uplifting.
Yeah,
And I think I haven't said that yet, so I wrote it down.
I do have in here like something similar, like as in like for this episode and like previous ones. I like how they have clips of like the raw video submissions, because I feel like we didn't see them too much like the last few episodes, but this one we saw like a little like quick compilation of them, and I thought that was cool that they like incorporated them in.
Yeah, same. Next up is Ellie. Okay. I loved Ellie's personality in the audition. I thought she was super sassy. I thought her song choice was really boring.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting her voice. Like it really like surprised me. Like cuz I hadn't seen this audition since I want to say since aired probably. And so like I forgot that's what her voice sounded like. But yeah, like I was really impressed.
I still follow them, so I can't remember my first impression of her voice.
Yeah, I don't keep up with them too much anymore now, so like that's
Yeah.
why I was like,
Yeah, I can't remember my first impression of her voice, but I do remember at the time and even watching it like for like my 10th time, that like I just find her song choice to be really boring. But I thought like her personality was so amazing. And I actually think that the song choice didn't show off her voice that well, like with hindsight, like knowing what she can do later. I
mm.
felt like the song choice like didn't show off her voice the way I would have wanted to, but like it's not my audition, but still.
Yeah, it's the only thing I feel like a lot of people like in this episode and like in the previous episodes and probably in the next one, it's like their voices will be so good, but like just the song choice just doesn't fit them because they don't like have their style set down yet.
Yeah. All right. I feel like people also do a thing where they either like pick too easy of a song because they're nervous, or they pick too hard of a song because they want to impress.
Yeah, or like they pick a ballad, which is like great because that'll show off like vocals a lot more, but then it'll bore them. But then
Yeah.
they'll try to do like an upbeat one, but it won't be as strong.
Yeah. It's it's
It's
it's
like
a
it's
tough
hard.
balance. Yeah. Okay, Rhea. I think I'm saying her name right.
Yeah.
Her personality, her stage presence, like her performance, all a hardcore yes. I just didn't like her voice.
Oh, I liked her voice. She just has like a really good performance factor, like just so
She
good.
is such a good, strong performance factor. She nailed that audition. Her voice just like wasn't for me.
Mm.
And I felt so bad about it too because I was like listening to her and I like was watching her and I was like really into it and my ears were not happy. And I was like, no, but I really want to like her.
Yeah.
I love how like in one of the mini breaks, Jade's like, yeah, it's killed people. I saw it on Facebook.
If it's on Facebook, it has to be true. I like just have it in my notes in all caps. The metal straw. It's like, oh well, if it's on Facebook, it has to be true.
Yeah, gotta be true. And like so much dead face when they all did it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
Oh, that was really good.
All right, moving on to Jolie. I think that's her name.
Mm-hmm.
My first impression, my first note is so much energy.
Yeah, she's so bubbly.
She's just so much energy. Lack of confidence was her reason for being in the group. I feel like I mean technically that was like the reason Little Mix gave too, but I feel like it's not
Mm-hmm.
actually a very good reason to want to be in a group long term. Because eventually you're going
Yeah.
to find your confidence as a performer and you're going to mature and grow up and become more confident as a performer, as an artist, as a person, and you're not going to need that group on stage with you anymore. And so if you don't have another reason to be in the group, that's not going to be like sustainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Little Mix lacked confidence, but they also got a sisterhood bond from it. And so there was another reason to be there once they all had their confidence levels up.
Yeah.
So I think like it's a good starting reason, but like it's not a sustainable reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I never thought of it like that, but yeah, you're right.
However, I also have a note here that she seemed to, not like a ton, but she seemed to immediately mature as soon as she started singing as far as her demeanor.
Yeah. Like she like kind of got in like the zone.
Yeah, like she seemed just like a little bit older. I think she was like a baby guy. I think she was like 16 or 17.
Yeah, she was young.
Yeah.
I liked her though.
And she seemed young. Like she seemed very bubbly, very young, very like cutesy, very energetic. And then she seemed to just like mature just like a little bit, like into like, you know, a few years while she was actually performing. And I thought that was actually pretty cool to see that she already had that capability.
Yeah, that's because that's really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since she was saying that she lacked confidence.
Yeah. I really wanted her to go through, I'm not gonna lie.
Leslie Versteri again. That was
I just,
so throughout this episode.
I just have in like quotes. I don't know what you lot are listening to.
I know. Just like Leslie being like, what?
Yeah. Like I don't know. I liked her.
I kind of agreed with Leslie though, personally.
Yeah, I just thought because she was young that she probably just wasn't ready, like, in that sense, but I don't know.
I mean, I think like there's probably something to that, and then I think I know that Lee specific, like Jessie was saying something about her actual vocal, and Lee was saying that she just hasn't really seemed to found like her sound or her voice, like her
Mhm.
style as an artist. And I think there's probably truth to all of it.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't think she was the strongest of the day, which I think is something Perry said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's either this one or another one later.
Yeah, it came up
um,
at some point.
yeah, and I was like, "Oof, really?" Like,
Yeah.
okay, moving on to Megan. I love her. I adore her.
She's so talented.
Knowing her, she is so talented. Knowing her, like what she's like on social and like later on in the show compared to like her first audition, she was like clearly like nervous and like being in a little cutesy, you know.
Mhm.
But still adore her. I liked her song choice for the sass and grit because I was not expecting it and she pulled it off so well, but I
Mhm.
don't feel like it showed off her voice that well.
Yeah, I agree.
But I feel like that song's not really meant to show off your vocals, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but it did give her that chance with the dancing, and she is such a talented dancer as well. I have a comment on her dancing and what Jade said, but first we can go to Leslie versus Sherry again.
I have here in the band room when it started happening, we're like, "Oh, here we go."
I know.
Love that. I love that band room. Like the band room is so supportive this episode and they're so funny. I
Yes,
love
they
them.
are. They were so like I just felt like this category was special. That band room was so great.
Yeah.
When Perry was like, I think she's like the best singer we've seen, whatever. Like all of the girls were like, yes, like say yes, like let her in.
Yes.
They weren't like, oh, like you
Yeah, I
know,
thought about that. I almost wrote that down, but yeah, they were like excited for her.
yeah, they were like, yeah, that means let her in, let her in.
Yeah.
Like we want her in the group, let's go. Like, and that's a good supportive environment, you know. But yeah, so I loved Megan. I thought the Leslie versus Terry split was really funny again.
Yeah.
I think it's funny the entire way through. I'm going to mention it every time. So okay, so what Jade said about Megan's dancing, I ish agree.
Yeah.
Because so if for anyone who hasn't seen it lately or watched it at all, Jade says about okay, so Megan's a dance teacher. She's young. She's not like a professionally trained, as far as I'm aware, like like professor, whatever. But she is like she is a dance teacher. I think she mainly teaches like little kids in her hometown, and she gives like free classes to some of like the kids in the town because she lives in a small community that doesn't really have anything to do. So she is like trained, I would assume to an extent. She looks trained.
Mhm.
And um I thought her dancing was like not the best that we will see from her going forward, but I don't know that I've really agreed with Jade's advice on it.
What did Jade say again? I don't remember
Oh yeah,
exactly.
okay, sorry. I forgot I was trying to get to that point. Okay. So Jade said sometimes she looked a little like over rehearsed and that she
Okay,
needed
that
to
was
like
her.
yeah, she needed to like let her body do what her body wanted to do. And then after she left the room, I think she also said that she was a little too like dance school or something.
Mhm.
I know what Jade was getting at, but I also have seen Jade's dancing. And I
Yeah.
think that Jade goes too far with the advice that she gave. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
Because like Jade often will deviate from what the choreo is supposed to look like in order to just do what her body wants to do. And that might feel good and as a dancer, but when you're dancing in a group, that does not make for cohesive good choreography.
Yeah, you need the uniform.
Right. So, and especially since like they're going to be competing with K-pop groups, I just didn't love Jade's advice.
Yeah, like I get where she's going, like coming from, but
Yeah.
I think because like from her standpoint, I could see it as being like a as in a like when you're like a ballet kid and you are very like technical and very like
Mm-hmm.
aware placement wise,
Right.
and then you're like thrown into the deep end because like that's basically how I was, and like thrown into the deep end and like having to figure out like hip hop and like jazz and like all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't see her as being completely that way. Like you can tell she has technique and like training, but I see it more as in like she has hip hop
But she
training,
did,
not.
yeah, she did it. She did a hip hop dance. She executed it well.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
so
it's
like
not the same thing.
yeah, I don't think she's like jumping into a pool she's never been in before. I definitely do think she has the training backing behind her. But I honestly would have kind of just thought that maybe it was nerves.
Yeah, because when you're nervous and you're a dancer, you automatically should go to like the perfect, like
Yeah.
safe, like default technique.
Yeah. And so I feel like it was probably just that. So when like Jade was like telling her just to kind of be more loose and do like what her body wants to do, it was like, no, don't.
Yeah, that works for freestyling and like solos, not necessarily when you're with someone else.
Yeah. Like maybe for, her audition she should have, but as far
Yeah.
as like what she continues to do going forward, like cuz Jade said it when she left the room, said it as like, "Oh, well like that can be trained out of her," or like, like whatever. And I was like, "No,
Hmm.
don't train it out of her." Like
Yeah, she needs
that's
that for a group.
yeah, she needs that for a group. Well, okay, so here's the thing I think maybe some non-dancers don't get. Technically speaking, the best, like when you were performing as an ensemble and you were like, it's not like one main role on stage performing something and there's backup. When you were all doing the exact same thing, you're supposed to blend and look the same. It should not be stylized.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
should all look identical doing the exact same thing at the same angle in the exact same way. Like it you
Same
should
height.
look same height, same everything. Like you should look like one person doing the exact same thing every single time. Not one of you should stick out from the rest, and if you do, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Um so like style should not play a part or whatever. Like as a dancer, you even have to like there are times where you have to strip out your own style in order to dance in a group.
Yeah.
And I think like people who don't dance like maybe think that's boring or that that's like not fun or like maybe that's bad. But like when you start talking about like professional dancers, that is like very much something you need to be able to do. But I think in pop music, which is by the way, guys, what K-pop does. That is how K-pop approaches dancing from what I've seen. Um, but what like Little Mix does and what other kind of like Western pop groups have done in the past, it'll probably do in the future, is that they like are like, oh, well, we're not going to be completely insane, completely doing the same thing, completely whatever, because we're going to stylize it a bit. We're going to have our own personalities. We're going to like whatever. And to an extent, that's fine
Hmm.
because they are not a dance troupe on stage. They are
Yeah.
singers performing their group. You know what I mean? Like they're doing other things. And part of being in a group in a Western group is being able to have distinguishable members with personalities and presences that people can differentiate. So obviously having those stylized moments and personalities on stage is helpful and important. And it's also good for people to be able to have individuality they can express in a group. And so they don't feel like they're being, their individuality or artistry or expression is being suppressed. There's a lot of good reasons to do it. But it's not good for the dancing per se.
Yeah, no, like that'll get points docked off in competition.
All right, moving on. Fia surprised me every step of the way.
Same.
I did not expect the story about her mom. I didn't expect her voice to sound so deep. I didn't expect her stage persona to be sassy or sexy because I thought she was going to be like a little like I thought she was going to be Perry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that Perry can't be like sassy or sexy on stage, but Perry's stage persona the majority of the time, like her default is bubbly. She's happy, she's bubbly, she's smiley. Um, and so I kind of thought I don't know why I expected that from Fia because she is a very like bubbly, sweet person. Um, and she like transformed. I mean, she wasn't like the sexiest, sassiest person I've ever seen, but like it was not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Like I was surprised with her song choice too.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't like Megan Trainor's music, but she made me like that song.
Yes. Yes.
Like
I'm like she completely surprised me the entire way around.
yeah, same.
I do feel like all the moving around definitely took a toll on her voice. She was definitely out of breath towards the end.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was atrocious.
No, because it showed that she had it. It was just like a work of like stamina, which is
Yeah, which
you
is
can fix.
you can work on that.
Yeah.
Ellie in the band room going, "Can anyone read Little Mix right now?"
Yes. I love that.
I died.
Can anyone
Uh,
read the Oh, I love that band room.
moving on to Jasmine, I literally have no thoughts really.
I just kind of have whoa.
There wasn't anything wrong with her. I just like nothing stood out to me.
Yeah, it was very like
They
I
did
feel like it was
speed through her really quick.
yeah, it was very quick, but it was very clean audition, I will say. Like it
It
was like
was, yeah.
very clean, very put together, but it was just
Hmm.
really quick. Like there wasn't really anything to like comment on because it was already over by the time.
Yeah, they really like sped through that in the editing process, so she didn't really get her time to like make an impression. But she wasn't
Yeah.
bad in any way. My lack of comment is not like something meaning she did poorly. It's just like there wasn't really a lot to react to.
Yeah.
Maddie, I thought this was really interesting because they were saying like she's just not like vocally ready or something like that.
Mhm.
And it got me thinking like if their X Factor selves were auditioning in that room, they wouldn't have gotten through.
Yeah, they definitely had very high
You can
standards.
all hate on me in the comments, it's fine. um but like I honestly believe that.
Yeah. No, I do too because it's just very different.
Yeah, like, and it's not bad that they're holding such high standards for Melodies or the other groups. But I just thought it was interesting because they were talking about how high the standards are, and they were talking about like this and that, and I was just like, you guys wouldn't get past your own audition.
Yeah, because it took them years to like
It took them years to get to that level that they're asking for.
yeah, that's what I'm like,
Because I
yeah.
feel like they're asking for salute, get weird transition era, like
Mhm.
level from everyone as far as vocals and stage presence. I feel like that's their baseline. Like we want a minimum of this, and anything higher than that is good, right?
Yeah.
But that took them what 3-4 years?
Yeah. And a lot of these contestants are like that age or younger.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like this is like a really hard category.
Because I remember like it too. It was a lot of Perry being like, I could tell this was your first audition, but then Perry like tells us all the time like she was woefully unprepared for X Factor, and like
Mhm.
couldn't like get the nerves out of her voice and like all of this stuff, and like she felt so insecure on stage, and she felt so insecure in the like by Perry's own standards, she would be out.
Yeah, like I feel like they kept that in consideration with the other categories except for this one.
Yeah, I think that they got really harsh because they were looking at mini me's.
Yeah.
The next girl, I missed her name. She did "Oops" as a song.
Is it I don't know if it's Kella,
I
Kella
completely and utterly missed it. I have no idea, so I'm just gonna believe you.
Okay, I don't just don't know if that's how you say it. I don't remember.
Kelly, I don't know.
Kelly.
Um,
I don't know.
I have that she had poor choreo, that she didn't really dance around much. Is that right?
I think so. Honestly, I don't remember the choreo that much. I just remember like
I feel like she didn't really move around that much, and I remember that being a critique of theirs.
yeah, it
But then
was.
shit, "Oops" as a song. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah, because in what group was it? In boy band? Is that the one where the fan made it through? Like the Stan was there. I forget his
Uh,
name.
no, mixed. That was mixed.
Mixed group. Yeah. Mixed group. Um, I feel like it was very different because she was a very obvious fan. Like you could tell she knew them. She
But she
knew
wasn't a stan.
exactly. She wasn't like super like I liked how she was a fan here.
Yeah. It wasn't too much. It wasn't like, I stalk them on Instagram and know way too much about their personal lives. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it wasn't cringe. It was like
Yeah.
endearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think a lot of them coming up hit a good level of like fan, but not stan.
Yeah, they could separate it.
Then came Lauren. I love Lauren. I loved her reason for wanting to be in the group. She definitely got in because she can dance.
Yeah, I was surprised they let her in so easily.
Yeah, I'm surprised Pez said yes.
Yeah, because like there were some other people like before that I thought were gonna make it through because they had like they were maybe not like super great at one thing, but they were like well round like enough to like get through.
Yeah.
But
And
then
then they didn't.
yeah,
And then Lauren definitely wasn't strong enough as a singer.
And she didn't have like a very cohesive audition because she had to do it twice.
Right, because she just seemed to kind of misunderstand the format she'd be presenting in, which isn't. I'm not gonna like say that's like her fault,
Yeah,
because
no.
there's. My guess is there's not usually a lot of like instruction
Instruction.
given. Yeah, um, but the person's opinion I would have thought the dancing would have changed was Jesse's, but Jesse
Mm-hmm.
still said no, and Perry said yes.
Yeah, it was very surprising the reactions to that.
Yeah, I agree. But the dancing is absolutely why she got in, and I mean, to be
Mm-hmm.
like, she's an amazing dancer.
Yeah, she is.
Everyone take note that I said that because I'm going to be critical in a few parts later.
Oh God.
I feel like you'll agree with me once I say it.
Okay.
Natea, she's so cute.
I love her.
She's not right.
Not for the group, but like I love
No,
her alone, like by
but
herself.
she is so cute. Yeah. Moving on to Ashley. I love her. I love her voice.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she had like she wasn't like the best as far as performance and stage presence, but I still felt like there was a lot of potential there. And
Yeah.
I love how she changed the lyrics of Woman Like Me. Instead of like boy, it was girl.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I like it. I thought it was cute. I don't, not saying that says anything about her sexuality. I have no idea. I just thought it was cute that she changed it.
Yeah. I'd like it's always such a risk when like they sing a judge's song like, on any show, but I feel like
Mm.
she really pulled it off.
She has such a great lower register.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought her belting was pretty good too.
Yeah. Like it's like hit or miss whenever you do that.
Yeah, it really is. And like Jesse said, it is one of their hardest songs on Little Mix knows because they don't do it live. Um,
Yeah.
okay, rehearsals. Song intro for rehearsals was on point. God is a dancer. Yeah, I heard on the radio that she always go harder because she's keeping you on your toes. Yeah, and she's perfectly focused. Song intro on point. Okay, so it started with them dancing before they wanted to see them dance together before they saw them sing together, heard them
Mm-hmm.
sing together. I think that the dancing wasn't really great by any of them except really Lauren and Megan, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really about how well they currently dance so much as it was about about their potential to learn to dance.
Yeah, and how maybe it looked like their styles with each other.
Yeah, like I think it was more about the potential of them as an individual, the potential of them as a group, and the potential to grow. I don't think it was about how skilled they
Together.
currently were.
I like the choreography that was used. I actually really like that. Like, because you know, like when you see choreo for auditions and you know if it's like a hit or miss piece, like one that's just gonna feel weird and like
Mm-hmm.
look weird. I feel like that one like felt right.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been cool. It totally wasn't going to happen and it shouldn't have, but it would have been cool if the girls had like gotten into like rehearsal gear and like done a little bit more of like actual rehearsal because wasn't really a rehearsal
Yeah.
so much as it's like an evaluation.
I feel like it would have been really cool if they would have done it as in like a more of an audition based format. Like I know they just had an audition, but if they would have taught them there,
Yeah, like a workshop or an audition or just
yeah, like
something.
a convention type of masterclass.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that's how you learn it as dance. Like I don't know, like obviously like, I don't know how they were given the choreography. Like I don't know.
I think some of some of like the girls backup dancers, like choreographers dancers. I think it was Jay and someone else who ran the choreo for the search. Um,
Hmm.
and I think they worked with them and with like the boy. I think they worked with all the contestants, but specifically the boy band and Melodies in learning it in like the 48 hours or whatever. Also, guys, to note, like they do only have 48 hours to learn this before they come in
Okay.
because the rehearsal's already 40 or always 48 hours after their audition. They're coming in kind of at a disadvantage. They didn't really have a lot of time to practice. They also had to learn the song. Um, so it's definitely not like a critique, but it would have been cool if Little Mix did a less of an evaluation and more like of like a workshop convention masterclass type of a thing. It would have been neat.
Yeah, because especially because like I mean like since you just said like how they were like they learned it,
Yeah.
because like I wasn't sure because I was like if they had learned it like if they were just sent a video that's obviously going to be very hard to learn from if they were like just given it very strangely and but obviously they weren't but I still feel like that's still a disadvantage to not being able to learn it day of because there's time to forget things there's time you forget certain critiques like I don't know
Yeah, I
that
also
just
like
could be like my
practice.
audition like auditioner inner self coming out.
Yeah, I also feel like it puts you all at different starting blocks. And then like when you are initially like learning a piece, like I feel like you work through a lot of like blocks and you're like, oh, okay, I get that now. And then like you start going with it. But if you wait a couple days and suddenly you're like, oh wait, how did I do that again? Like,
Yeah, you're given too much time. Like with auditions, they're so annoying because
yeah,
you have to like they give you the choreography, but they don't give you a ton of time. It gets fast. If you don't pick it up, you're out. But
yeah.
like I feel like a good way for them, since they already made it through, would have been to like give them the choreography, maybe like have it be a two-parter, like give it to them in the beginning of the day, let them sit with it while they do another group, like give them like maybe 2 hours to like really set in stone, figure it out, come back.
I mean, it would be a complete change up from how they did every other group. So, like, I understand why it wasn't going to happen. Also, the girls were not dressed for it.
Yeah.
But I do think it would have been cool.
Yeah. And like I don't this is like kind of a different part. But because a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, but like there were a lot of mistakes that were made while they were
Mm-hmm.
going. Like they were forgetting it, they were doing this, but I feel like that also kind of made it a bad impression, not necessarily on the girls, but on maybe audience,
Yeah.
because they don't like if you're not a
An
dancer, you
audience
don't know.
doesn't have like a realistic expectation for what it should look like after 48 hours.
Yeah, like there's that. And like with dance it's hard because it might look like they don't know what they're doing, or like they didn't spend a lot of time on the dance, or like that they were just slacking with it. But in reality, like you can practice a dance for 8 months, go out and perform it, or go out and perform a dance that you've been doing for weeks and still forget a part.
Yeah, you can do it perfectly in practice. And then when you're supposed to, like, this is technically a rehearsal, but it's a performance for them, like it's still an
Yeah.
audition. Um, and you can do it perfectly in rehearsal. And then this always happens to me. Like, I
Same.
would perform, I always fuck up timing. And like, I'd perform it,
Yes.
you obviously do it with the mirror and like, you don't think twice about it and you know the timing. And then like, our teachers would always take away the mirror when it would get close to performance time.
Yes.
And then I
So
would
scary.
panic.
Yeah, or like you'll mess up on like a really random part that you've never messed up on before. Like it's very common, but I feel like non-dancers don't get that. They just think like, oh, they're slacking. Like they just don't know it.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
it's
way more complicated than that.
yeah, and like you get the last minute questioning, like you said, like you're like, well, what arm is it? Is it this arm, or do I am I supposed to go on this? Like you get these like
Yeah,
last
you're like,
minute
which count am I going
questions.
in? Which count are we
It's
on? Crap,
so
I lost count. I
dumb.
was overthinking
Yeah.
it.
You
Like,
overthink everything. And like something, ooh, I think Jesse might have said it, where it was like they like the audience doesn't know like the dance.
yeah, so if you mess up, just smile and keep going because I don't know the routine.
Yeah, but like I feel like that advice doesn't work in this situation.
It doesn't, but I think that it worked for a life lesson.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it worked for like a life lesson. It worked for performance factor.
A career lesson because on stage, the majority of the audience doesn't know your routine. And
Mhm.
because Western groups are more individualized and more stylized than a typical, like just a dance group would be, there is that opportunity to style it out, just keep smiling, whatever it is, and the audience might not notice. So I feel like it wasn't good advice for the audition. Like it didn't make it any less cringe in the audition, but it was good career advice for her to then take onto the stage later. It just was bad audition advice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cuz like the audition like obviously like that's how you're going to get through and like it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. Like if it was a solo audition, like if they had messed up in their first one, yeah, you can improv that. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten parts of my solo and just kept going. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's so like yeah.
But yeah, in an ensemble piece, it's bad audition advice. It's super obvious that you messed up. Smiling through it is the professional thing to do, but it's certainly not like the solution.
Yeah, it's not great for an audition.
No, but it's the professional thing to do even in the audition.
Mhm.
And because like getting pouty and like stopping and like messing everyone else up is not the way to go.
Yeah, definitely not.
It is good career advice for a pop group, but
Yeah.
yeah, for an audition, that's not going to help her.
Yeah, that's why I was like so surprised she said it. I was like, yeah, that'd be good, but just not for
I
right
also
now.
got the impression that she said it to kind of boost her confidence a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, when they finally started singing, unless you have more dancing feedback,
No, that was it.
they put almost all of Melodies together.
Yeah.
And it was like originally it was Megan, Ashley, Ellie, and Rhea who were in a group singing. And I thought that sounded pretty good. And I think Lee even says like that gelled really well. And then I forget who says
Yeah.
it, but someone's like, "Can we have live in for Rhea?" And I thought that when they put live in, I thought they sounded so much better. Not that with Rhea they sounded bad, but like when Liv came in and they started singing, I was like, damn. Like
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I was like, jam out to this. What is this? Like I wasn't really taking note of what they were singing before, but then something about like what Liv's voice added to them. I was like, yeah, I was like, this is a jam. What are they singing?
Yeah, I also thought, like, just both of them were just really clean, though, like, I know it was, like, an acapella, but, like, I just feel like it was very, like, good. Or, like, it was a lot better than I was expecting for some
Yeah,
reason.
I felt like they blended better than some of the other groups we'd already seen, like
Yeah, that's what it
naturally.
was.
Like a lot of their voices blended together, like in that combination variation,
Mhm.
um, than some of the other groups,
Yeah.
except for the one other group that held at all of our sweetie pies, who were off pitch and not blending well in this. um, that was Jed's like, all right, we've heard enough.
Yeah, no, okay.
I felt so bad and I had so much secondhand embarrassment, but I was also like,
Yeah.
I was like, this is not going well. Whatever's happening right now is not going well.
Yeah.
Next thing I have is when the girls are deliberating.
Mhm.
Jade fighting so hard for Natea.
I
I
know.
understand Jade, but she needs to go.
Yeah, like, I loved her, but I she just wasn't right for this group.
In my opinion, she should have gone home in rehearsals.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Jade really loved her, so I get it. They let Jade have it, but
Mhm.
she was not the right fit from the start.
No.
All right, on to concert.
Yeah.
The standouts for me were Megan, Liv, and Ellie.
Yeah, I don't know all of their, like, names per se, but, like,
I may have watched it enough times to know if you describe their outfit.
oh, I don't know. There wasn't really anybody, like, I knew, like, right off the bat. I was just kind of impressed overall. Like, that's kinda what I have here. Like, I was just impressed, like, with, like, the final, um, product.
Especially for how many of them were on the stage. Was that more than
Yeah.
usual?
It was 7, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Because I remember
Yeah.
trying to, like, count, when because one of them had said it, and I was trying to, like, figure out how many people would have to be eliminated.
Yeah, I
It was,
feel
like,
like
7-ish around there.
yeah, I think it was 7ish, but they looked like so much more on the stage.
Mhm. Especially with
Um
just all of it going on because they had a lot of dancing going on,
yeah, they
obviously.
had a lot of like change ups in the choreography and the dancing and they were doing a lot of like switching rows in order
Yeah.
to get different girls in front for
I
the
liked how they did
evaluation.
that. They should have done that for, like, the other groups. It's like
Yeah, I
having them
was
be in a straight
wondering.
line.
Yeah, I was wondering why they didn't do that because what they did there is more like an audition, like where you have them
Yeah.
switch up lines so that if you were in the back before, you're in the front this time.
Yeah.
Um, so that was interesting. Yeah, for me, Megan, Liv, and Ellie, like immediately in the first like 30 seconds stood out to me, just for like the performance aspect.
Mhm.
And Liv's voice really stuck out to me. Okay, I love Lauren, guys, and she is a fabulous dancer. I thought it was a bit off in this performance.
Yeah.
I thought she seemed a little out of sync and not really comfortable.
Yeah, not comfortable. Yeah, I can see
I mean,
that.
none of them were like perfectly in sync. Like they did not have enough time to be perfectly in sync and they were not all good enough dancers to reach that point.
Mhm.
Um, but she seemed to just like on like simple arm movements, she just seemed to be like a little bit behind what everyone else was generally doing.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just like, why is your arm dragging more than all the other arms? Like they're all already at different rates, like
Yeah.
based on what we saw in her audition in rehearsal, I just thought it was just like a little bit off.
Yeah, and, like, especially because she was considered, like, I think they
The
did say, like, the
best
strongest
dancer.
dancer.
Yeah, they thought she was the best dancer, and I agree with this is going to get us into the negotiation aspect later. But Jade and Jesse both say they think one of the other girls was a better dancer than her on the stage. My guess is it was probably Megan, just based on the options we have.
Mm,
And I think in that performance, I would agree. I wouldn't have agreed in rehearsals or in auditions, but on stage, I would.
yeah.
But that is one performance. It's nerve-wracking. There's a lot of people on stage. Like there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And she was
And she
not
did
bad by any means.
yeah, and she did like extremely well in the like other two. So like she's capable.
Yes. It's probably nerves more than anything else.
Yeah.
All right. Jade being like, no, I want Atea. And everyone's like, no, you can't have her.
I know.
And
That
she's like,
was so
no.
sad.
And everyone's like, Jade, gotta let it go.
I felt so bad.
I was like, at that point, I was like, all right, Jade. I was like, she's gone as far as she can go. She needs to get cut. Like, I was like, she's not making this group. Like,
Yeah.
you've cut all of the cutesy girls that could have been in a band with her already.
Yeah, honestly, they could have just split up in half and had like the trio and then I don't know, nowadays.
I mean, yeah, like they had two different like group personality formings, and they got rid of the ones that would have gone with Natea.
Yeah, they did.
Which means Natea's got to go, Jade. I mean, I didn't say like too much about the back and forth they all did.
I didn't either.
But because I've watched that episode back so many times, I know who they're all talking about. Just because I can follow the thread of their thought processes watching the episode over and over, you know, like all their comments they've made. And the fact, okay, I think this is such a cool thing. So when they go back out, it's like, oh, do we want 5 members or 4 members? And Jesse's like 4 members. And we don't really see them just like decide. And then they go, that's our lineup. And they go back out and Perry goes, it's 4 members, right? And then Jesse's like, all right, guys, come here.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, now that I'm staring at them, like, I think like she does balance them out. To me, based on like their deliberation, obviously their deliberations are cut up, so it is a little hard to track. But based on that, it did seem to me like Lauren was the 5th member that Jesse initially was like, we don't need her. And then she was looking at them on stage. She was like, all right, no, we do need her. Let's go. Like, guys, add her in.
Yeah.
And I think that was a right choice. I think Lauren does add a lot to the group. Like she's not vocally the strongest, but I think that's not the most important thing when building a Western pop girl group.
Yeah, especially a group because she can like
she can improve.
Yeah, and she can use her like voice to a different role.
Yeah, like she doesn't have to be the like show off diva singer, you know what I mean? Like she can use her voice in ways that work really well for the group, that work for her, and she can add a lot to the group in a lot of other ways. So I think she was a great addition. I think that Melody's definitely benefits from her having been included. But how like crazy of that is a story. Like let's say that they stay together and they go on to be successful, right? How crazy of a story is that to be like telling in interviews like, oh yeah, well we got formed and you know there was only supposed to be 4 of us, but then like they added that 5th member and then you know it's crazy. It was meant to be, and you know what I mean? Like how
That's like what they did with Perry.
Yeah, like goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like if they work out, if they manage to like really make a go of it, like even if they're not like worldwide famous, but you know what I mean? If they become a successful group, like, and they stay together for, you know, 4, 5, 6 years, like that's a crazy story to have, you know?
Yeah.
All right. And then I have a cute Jadesy moment where they hold hands.
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
I love that. And they're like, it's because they remind me of us.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, me too. I just thought it was so cute.
Yeah.
And I do think this is a mini Little Mix. I do have a soft spot for them. I mean, I liked them well enough watching this the first time around. And I am more partial to girl groups. I am more partial to like a dance aspect. And I did really love how I think one of the girls says it, but I think maybe it's Perry. Like it is really emotional to watch all their names get called because they do look like they're just they look like Little Mix when Little Mix won the Brit or got through, you know, like they just look so humble and genuine and like so in it together, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, they really give off a lot of like Little Mix vibes and a lot of like cohesive group vibes and like there for the right reasons, quote quote, you know, quote unquote. I warmed to them a little bit despite the fact that maybe like they weren't like the strongest group. I warmed to them for those reasons. But I've absolutely like this commentary is absolutely influenced by how much I warmed to them since the show has ended, because I decided
Mm.
to follow them afterwards, and they are actual friends. They are very business minded. They are taking this very seriously. They are really invested in the group and the group image and building a brand together. And like they are doing everything a group should be doing in order to make a name for itself and find its own identity and be successful and not get discouraged. And they're doing it without the help of a label or management or money.
Mm. Yeah.
And so they earned so much respect from me as I watched them try to continue on as a group. And I think they're starting to meet with the labels potentially based on some things they've been posting. I hope they get signed, but they're definitely working on their own record right now. Um, and they like, and what I mean by that, guys, is like they all live in different places still, but they like arrange like content weekends where they all travel to the same location, and all weekend all they do is dress up in matching outfits and go do activities together and record TikToks and like arrange and record like covers and acapellas together, and like and then they take pictures and they travel and whatever, and they make all this content, and then while they're not together they slowly post it so that fans are constantly getting content, but they're not always together. Like they're very business minded, very purposeful, and they're just taking it really seriously, and they're very young, and they're doing it without help, and I just think that's really impressive, and it really made me warm to them and made me want them to succeed and do well and made me want to support them even more, because if you have the good foundation and you're talented and you have the friendship and you're willing to put in the work, I think that you should get the benefit of the doubt and people should help you succeed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Success will come with that.
Yeah, like, and it'll be really hard for them in the middle of a pandemic off of a TV show where like they didn't get any consolatory prize.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that they deserve it. And that's why I'll probably continue to do videos of them on my channel too, just because any support I can help them get, I think is something I want to do for them. So in case any of you guys are wondering why I make melodies videos, that's why. Yeah, so my commentary is definitely skewed by like my later perception of them, but just so you guys know, I still did kind of like them and was like warming to them on my initial watch. I just have like a much more positive impression now, having like been in hindsight of the show and stuff. That's kind of all I have.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
So that was the episode that gave us melodies.
Woo!
So next up is the rap R&B, right? And then we're done. And then we're on to
Yes.
lives.
I love the rap R&B group. I can't wait for live shows.
Same. I'm excited for live shows.
Because like I feel like I don't remember the live shows as much as I remember the auditions, which I'm doing like on purpose because like I want to be like surprised again.
Outside of melodies, I think that's probably true for me as well.
Like I remember the mixed group because I remember the mixed group and I remember Why Change because those are my two favorites.
I'm really excited to see Send September on stage, because I remember like I mean, if you've listened to our last
Yeah,
review,
yeah.
I called them a bunch of fuckboys.
They really impressed me during the live shows too.
Their first live show, I was like, shit. I was like, you're good. I was like, you're bondage. You're entertaining. There's like friendship happening. I was like, shit. Do I have to like you now?
Yeah, like I wasn't too keen on them at the end of like
Their audition.
at the end of the audition, but yeah, no. The first one I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, okay, we'll stop. We don't want a spoiler.
Yes.
I mean, we're already spoiling, but
Oh well.
we'll hold our thoughts. But yeah, so I'm excited for the live show. I think there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening. But next up will be the rap R&B group, and then we'll move on to the live shows. These are our thoughts on melodies and just kind of our episode discussion. Let us know what you guys thought down below, who you wanted to get through, who you thought shouldn't have gotten through, the fact that you agree with me that Natea should have been let go earlier. Any of that stuff. As always, please be respectful of us and of the other people in the comment section. If you have not seen these, I believe Little Mix Source Backup has all of the clips up online. If you're from anywhere except the UK, and if you're from the UK, you should be watching it on BBC iPlayer. In case anyone is like listening to us doing these and being like, I don't have access to it. I believe you do, no matter where you're from. Yes, that's all we have for this week, and we will see you guys next week.